The man, the myth, the legend, Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the president. The president was Donald Trump. Yes, yeah. They elected him president. Donald Trump was the president. We elected Donald Trump. Trump. I don't know you. What's up? Donald Trump is suing Twitter and Facebook. Look at them black folks. Boy, the Trump know he be pulling it, boy. Go ahead, Trump. Trump out here knowing he damn well don't know who these two black folks is, let alone can care. I need a couple of black people up here. Get some of my blacks. Yeah, my blacks. Y'all can sit right here. No, I want them front and center. Shut up. Then I'm gonna have one of my good old girls. Yeah, from Oklahoma. She's gonna stand on my side. And I want her back in my trailer. When this is all over. No, shut up. Sit down. Oh, this is funny. Trump is back bigger than ever. Look at her. She's just cheesing. Look at her. Cheesing all up and down for some Donald Trump.
Take a look at it. You know exactly the sentence I'm talking about. It's become very famous. People are saying, really? Even the other side said, really? And of course, there is no better evidence that big tech is out of control than the fact that they banned the sitting president of the United States earlier this year, a ban that continues to this day. Continues. So we get the word out, but it's not a fair situation. Very, very bad for this country, very bad for the world. If they can do it to me, they can do it to anyone. And in fact, that is exactly what they're doing. They're taking people off who don't even realize they were taken off. They have no idea why they were taken off. But what they're doing is incredible and incredibly dangerous. Joining us this morning are just a few of the many Americans who have been illegally banned or silenced under the corrupt regime of censorship. These brave patriots are included in the lawsuit, and thousands more are joining as we speak. Thousands more. They're all wanting to join. This will be, I think, will go down as the biggest class action ever filed, because thousands of people want to join. Jen Horton is a school teacher from Fenton, Michigan. Earlier this year, she was kicked off Facebook for sharing a post questioning whether young children should be required to wear masks. She had a question, giving both sides, and actually not negative, just giving both sides. That was enough. At the same time, as Jen was deplatformed, her brother had gone missing, and she was unable to get the word out to all of her followers. She had a lot of followers. Could not get the word out. And Jen, I want to thank you very much for being here and stepping forward. Takes a lot of courage. Would you like to come up and say something, Jen? Where's Jen? Jen, please.
I just appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of these amazing patriots, and I thank you, President Trump, for everything you're doing for us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, look at Trump. How did I tell you? Meet me back in the trailer.
Victory, I love that name.
Oh, you're going to get a chance to thank Donald Trump.
Is a board-certified trauma and emergency specialist from Colorado, great person, who was asked by the pastor of a church to prepare a video about how to mitigate risks of the China virus to allow church.
All right, we have been listening to President Trump, former President Trump, speaking from his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey. He has announced He is leading a class action lawsuit against Big Tech. In the suit he has filed, he names Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, and also Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg by name. The president saying he's suing them essentially for banning him in the aftermath of the Capitol invasion on January 6th. He says their moves were, quote, un-American, unlawful, and unconstitutional. So far, Twitter has permanently banned the president no matter what, even if he runs again. They said he's not coming back to the platform. Facebook has taken a slightly different, modified approach. He is banned now through 2023, but they may reconsider that decision if they say his account no longer constitutes a threat to public safety. I want to bring in Emily Compagno. She is an attorney, also co-host of Outnumbered. She has kindly been standing by listening to these remarks so that she can break it all down for us. Emily, what's your number one takeaway here so far?
My number one takeaway is that this class action is based on the premise that these digital platforms are sort of quasi-government institutions, that instead of being wholly private, that they've been granted special favors by the government and therefore do not have that right to exclude that a lot of private companies do. Now, I'm basing this on Justice Thomas's dissent in the Biden versus Knights of Columbia case that came out of the Supreme Court earlier this year in April, upon which it's my understanding that this complaint is largely based on. It's that premise that was really developed there and articulated by Justice Thomas that here this team has pounced on to file their lawsuit with. But I want to point out as well for viewers that they understand that a certification of a class action occurs by a judge, meaning you can file a lawsuit as a class action, but it's technically not certified as such until a judge does it. So the first step, obviously, that this lawsuit has been filed. We are all looking forward to reading it and dissecting it further, and upon which, once it's taken into consideration, the judge will in fact determine whether it does meet the standards for a class action, in which case he or she will certify it or decline to certify it, in which case then it would just be back to that sole plaintiff.
So one of the things that he said just now, Emily, was he leveled this claim that during the pandemic specifically, big tech and the social media companies became a de facto fourth arm of government. He says they did this. He accuses them of censoring true, real information about the spread of the coronavirus, and he says that they also promoted falsehoods from other government officials. How does that stack up to what the case you've heard from him in the past?
Right. It seems to me that that's going to be part of their argument, right? That not only was this a disparate application in terms of censorship, but frankly that they were censoring actual true facts and they were allowing to be amplified, this is again their allegations here, allowing to be amplified falsehoods. So they're not really applying their own set of standards correctly, fairly to their users, as well as acting as an arm of government. He said that they had been deputized essentially, so acting as that arm. And I go back again to the Justice Thomas concurrence upon which this is based, where he articulates the fact that when the government has given special favors to quasi-government entities, he calls them, like common carriers, for example, he says that that's when they come out of that private entity space. They again become that quasi-government entity, and that's what the former president here is arguing. He's saying, look, they were acting as an arm of the government and therefore not allowed to exclude, therefore not allowed to censor, and that's where that First Amendment argument comes into play. Justice Thomas also, by the way, noted that governments, the limited private companies' right to exclude is even more stark the larger the market share that private entity has. And so I look forward to as well seeing fleshed out the fact, this argument that, for example, when you type something into a search engine, Google is that gate between your search and 90% of the information out there. So here we're going to hear from the president where all of these companies argue, oh, we're not a dominant force, or we're not the only force in the market. There's other avenues out there. The argument will be that the lion's share they hold is in part what bolsters the argument that they in fact are acting as this quasi-government entity here.
Interesting. All right, Emily, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Always love talking to you, and we'll see you in